Good evening, America. It is Friday, January the 30th, 2015, and you are listening to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio, on Pundit Press Radio and SHR Media. Now here is Liz Luras.
Good evening. Thank you, Dan, for that warm welcome and invitation. We have just the most exciting show planned for everyone that's listening tonight. We want to thank everybody that is listening on Pundit Press and everyone that is listening out there on SHR Media. I know everybody has just had so much anticipation building up to this show. We want to do a couple shout-outs before we launch into this amazing program tonight. So first and foremost, we always want to send a shout-out for our intro song that is our patriotic medley, and that is sung by our sister, our fellow Army sister who was deployed heaven-bound, and that is Sergeant Kimberly Agar. And we just want to thank her always, and her mother, Margie, who was a guest earlier in the month, for sharing that patriotic medley with us. So we always just want to honor her memory and her voice that she shares with us even beyond heaven's gates. Tonight, everyone, we have a guest with us that, honestly, I'm so nervous, and I'm actually just so excited. I don't think I've ever been this excited to talk to someone. So we are going to be talking about the Battle of Benghazi and what really happened. We are going to be talking with one of the most extraordinary warriors, my fellow freedom-fighting brother, a champion for truth, none other than Kris Paronto, and he is affectionately known as Tanto in the security contracting circles. He is a former Army Ranger, and he was with the 2nd Battalion, the 75th Ranger Regiment. He is also one of the authors or co-authors for 13 Hours in Benghazi, The Real Story. And I can't think of a better time to have him on the air with us on the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio, to just extend a warm welcome to him and to bring the truth to the rest of America and our patriots listening. Do we have Kris on the line, Dan? I'm not sure here. I know that Kris actually was just coming back from another event. I talked to him right before we got on the air, and so he's been traveling. We're so glad that he graced us with taking this invitation.
Well, Liz, speaking of which, we do have Kris on the line if you're ready to bring him on.
Excellent, absolutely. Kris, welcome to the show. You missed my my introduction for you, but it's so great to have you.
Was it a good one? Here, do it again.
It was really good.
Let's do it again then. Heck, start with such a stretch. Okay, let me count it down.
An extraordinary warrior. No, it is honestly such a tremendous honor to have you on the show. And I know when you had sent me the message, I'm calling Dan, my co-host and producer, Dan the Butcher here, and I was like, I can't believe this. I just about fell out of my chair. What an honor. I mean, to have a true American hero, and just to be able to help share your story and what you guys have gone through and what you continue to go through.
I appreciate it. Now, remember, you got to tell your listeners what you really thought when you saw I had actually direct messaged you. Thought I was some crazy guy saying, "Who the heck is this?"
That's actually true.
that was. I mean, but that keeps me humble. See, that's perfect. It keeps me perfectly humble. I loved it.
I felt so embarrassed. I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe I didn't realize I was looking at my phone.
Oh, that was so fantastic. No, I mean, it was great because I don't expect. I live in Nebraska. I don't expect anybody to know me. I was honored that you actually even accepted my invitation. So thank you.
Oh my goodness, it's totally an honor to have you on. I knew there was a couple things when I had spoke earlier with Candace, your PR gal, which is just such a blessing. There were a couple things that she had asked that we share on the show, and it's great to have you on here because then you can kind of probably speak to this as well. But everyone had asked that we promoted one of our brothers in arms, Willie Myers, a.k.a. Crazy Bear, and he is, for those that are looking on the show pages, we've shared the link to his story as well as the GoFundMe. And I guess none other than you to kind of introduce his story and why this is so important to you.
Well, it's important because being contractor, contractors I don't think realize that or people that don't know contractors realize that there isn't a lot of coverage for them if they're injured overseas, and they are subject to really private insurance, which has its loopholes that they're able to get out of paying benefits for. And Willie was actually he was injured. He was swimming. He was on deployment to Israel, and he was swimming in the ocean there, and he was caught in a riptide and smashed on some rocks, and he actually broke his neck, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. Well, the insurance we have, the Defense-Based Act insurance, it's the same insurance that Glenn Doherty's mom is having problems with right now. Glenn Doherty is one of my friends that died over there in Benghazi. Because it wasn't a combat-related injury, the Defense-Based Act has declined his insurance, and so basically he is not getting any sort of restitution, I should say, or anything for his injuries, even though he can't work any longer. And he's having problems paying his medical bill. So that's what we were trying to do. We're trying to raise money for Willie, but also it's to show that there are problems with the contractor's life insurance and medical benefits that are out there, because it's not like an SGLI where you're covered and you're not covered under disability with the Veterans Administration if you have a injury that creates a disability. So that's what we're trying to do. And Willie's a good guy. He's deployed in several countries. He's a patriot just like the rest of us. So it's just sometimes contractors aren't seen as soldiers anymore, which we are. We are still soldiers, Rangers, Airmen, SEALs. We're still everything. Who did I forget? Marines. We still are. We're just wearing a different uniform.
Absolutely. So everyone that's listening, we're going to do our part here with Pundit Press and SHR, and I know we've been tweeting that out there and putting on our social media feeds, but for anyone that is listening, definitely want to check out the link, support our brother in arms, and make sure that he gets the care and the protection that he deserves, that all of our brave warriors should have.
Yes, thank you.
And it looks like, and I'll just take care of a couple more housekeeping things so I make sure to keep on Candace's good side.
Go ahead.
She had asked that we kind of promote because we have listeners that are all over the nation. So over in South Carolina, if you guys are from South Carolina or close to South Carolina, Kris actually has a benefit on February 6th, 2015. It is from 6 to 8 p.m., and this is going to be for the gun store and indoor range. And I know we had shared, we got the information just kind of recently, it just came through, so we're sharing that on our show page so you can have that information. We're also going to share that with the rest of our social media feeds. So definitely make sure to go there and support Kris and the 13 hours in Benghazi. And then it looks like we also have a second event for you, February 7th and 8th.
Jeez, I didn't even know this. I don't even know where the heck I'm going. I know, thanks, Liz. You want a job? I got a job for you. No,
sure. You might have to fight Dan, but
that's hilarious.
So it looks like you'll be going, Kris, to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the 7th and 8th, to Nacho Hippo for another signing. And my understanding is that's a restaurant.
I hope so. It sounds like it is not. That's going to be kind of scary.
I don't know. Maybe some wrestling or some kind of fiesta. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, like the Blue Oyster Club or something like that.
Right. So that will be from 11 to 2 p.m. for any of you out in South Carolina. We're just hoping that you come to Oregon. That you come to Oregon.
Well, I do, I really do. I went to high school at Corvallis. My dad coached at Oregon State. So, I would love to come back out to Oregon. And I still have, in fact, I saw a long-lost friend that I hadn't seen in years. We went to high school together at Corvallis High School, Spartans. and I saw him last night. He came to a book signing. So yeah, I would love to. Let's get something worked out.
Small world, yes. I know my family listening is cheering right now because all of us were going in. They're like, this is great. So I know you had just come from an event, and we also want to just respect your time. But I know Dan and I, leading up to this, we were sitting here talking about it, and me coming from the Army background and him, and also the advocacy background. And then Dan, he's interviewed a lot of these politicians that are involved with this. Yeah. We were just having a heyday, like having almost our own show leading up to this of questions that we had for you. So if you get tired and can't extend it.
No, you can ask me. Ask me what those politicians told you, and I'll make sure it's correct, and I'll make sure whatever they're telling you is either yes or no. You know, is this? We'll let's shake it down. Go ahead, tell me what they ask you, and I'll tell you if they're right or
not. Oh wow!
I think Dan's like, this is just great.
Oh
yes. Did you want to go, Dan?
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, you know what, Liz? You go first.
You're jumping at the bit.
All right.
Most people know, at least some of the story with Benghazi. Sure. You guys are there. You're on the ground. There's all this talk about the stand-down order. It's probably one of the biggest questions that I hear in most interviews. Yeah. And it's something that people are continuing to ask. Can you speak to that? The fact that we've got people that are saying, we've got 2 stand-down orders, and can you speak to that and kind of elaborate?
I can speak about what took place with us within the agency itself. So when I say agency, CIA, and this is an easy question to answer. Did somebody give a stand-down order? Here's the answer: yes. That's all that needs to be said. There's nothing else that needs to be argued about it. What the politicians are trying to do is they throw semantics in there. They try to say, well, it was a delay, or it was a military stand-down order, or it was an unofficial stand. It makes no difference. Delay is delay. Wait's wait. Stand down is stand down. Stand down was said to my.
Yeah, it looks like, and I was even looking at the House Armed Committee Services report, and of course they have a lot of bogus statements in there, but they're saying that there was no stand-down issue issued to any U.S. personnel. It was just Tripoli.
And and they keep changing the story. First it was to just Benghazi and not Tripoli. Then it was, now they're saying it's Tripoli. Now they're saying that, then they also said that it was and even in Mike Rogers' House Intel Subcommittee's report, he even went through enough to say, well, there was a delay, but there was a legitimate reason for the delay. So they've changed their story so many times. But the deal is, and here's the truth, stand down did happen. The wait and delay happened 5 minutes in, and then also at the 25-minute juncture, we just decided to leave with disobeying orders. But stand down was used, and that was used by our chief of base, and who he was on the phone with was the chief of the station there in Tripoli. So within our own element, within the CIA element, stand down was issued. I cannot tell you about State Department. I can't tell you about Department of Defense. There is scuttlebutt that there was a Marine fast company waiting at the Sigonella Air Base that was actually getting ready to come assist us, and they were told, they were turned back. They were basically told to not to stand down. See, the words aren't stand down, but they were turned to go ahead and de-jock, which means to go ahead and get your gear off. You know, being in the military, let's go ahead and get your gear off.
Right.
What that's stand down too. What's the difference? But the thing is, though, there shouldn't even be an argument because the word stand down were used, and whatever. And I told that during the House Intel Subcommittee hearing. I looked in Mike Rogers' eye and Lynn Westmoreland's eye there on the House Intel Subcommittee, and everybody else that was sitting in there, except for Representative Adam Schiff, who's he's the one that's called us a liar. He didn't bother to show up for our testimony. He wasn't there. But he's a big proponent against us. Yeah, he's the Hillary Clinton's hatchet man. But I looked him in the eyes. I said, yes, we were delayed. We were told to wait, and that cost the ambassadors and Sean Smith's lives. I said it in the House Intel Subcommittee.
Wow.
I don't know who else I need to tell it to. I'm blue in the face. I even get tired of telling it. But I know I have to keep doing it because the politicians and the powers that be, the media that doesn't like us, CBS, NBC, and ABC, I'll tell them. I'll tell their names out. They dislike us. They will not just see the smoking gun and admit, yes, there was a stand down and that delay cost the lives of Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of drooling now. I'm a little passionate about it. I guess I'm fired up.
No,
well,
Chris, I mean, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Kris, I want to jump in here real quick, and we've heard and know that there was a drone flying overhead, and that the State Department was watching this unfold in real time. We could even possibly say they watched Ambassador Stevens be drug out of the consulate and killed and abused and whatever. And obviously we know that there was a stand down order given, and there's a lot of speculation as to how high up that stand down order went. One of my big issues is the fact that the Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America, Barack Obama, did not give a certain order. The Commander-in-Chief did not give an order saying, go get our guys, go save our ambassador, go help these other guys such as you that are going in to try to rescue the ambassador and everybody else. You had to wait 13 hours, that you were fighting and carrying on this battle when you went in and tried to save Ambassador Stevens' life. So can you address the fact that the Commander-in-Chief did not give an order to do anything about this when we knew it was happening in real time, and then went to bed and got on a flight on Air Force One, and the next day went to a campaign event in Las Vegas, Nevada?
I know, I can address it and say that he's completely wrong, and that's a failure of leadership. Definitely. I mean, you are the Commander-in-Chief. I don't care if you're in the military or not, Commander-in-Chief, but you are now in charge of the military. And as a military leader, you do not leave people behind. And you certainly do everything you can to go rescue or assist or support personnel that are in trouble overseas, especially Ambassador Stevens. And I've protected ambassadors before. There are different levels of ambassadors. I was actually in charge of the detail protecting Ambassador Khalilzad in Baghdad in 2005. And I had 50 Blackwater operators. I had 2 Little Birds. I had a company of infantry, and I had 1 APC for that ambassador. And Ambassador Stevens rated that level of Ambassador Khalilzad. We're talking Major General level. So that is just that just shows how poor of a leader he is, in my opinion. It shows that, and also that maybe there's something else that we don't know about that was going on, that possibly that, I don't say Ambassador Stevens, they wanted him to die. I can't say that. Saying maybe there's something else going on that Trey Gowdy's going to get to the bottom of, hopefully. That's why support did not come to us. Be that as it may, come down right to it. Facts are facts. Nobody showed up. Nobody tried to assist us. And just, if you haven't read the book, people haven't, we did not get assistance there in Benghazi, period. We had to commandeer our own aircraft to get out of Benghazi. So no newest U.S. plane showed up until we got to Tripoli, and after I'd taken a shower, taken a nap in Tripoli for 2 hours, and then it came to pick up all the State Department personnel and our injured. Mark Geist was severely injured and Dave Ubben was severely injured. And that's when I finally saw U.S. aircraft. So that's why it's a little disheartening, being a patriot that I think I am, for 18 years, and then standing on the tarmac there and going, holy cow, I don't think anybody's going to assist us. So, as good operators that we are and good people that we are, we figure out a way to get out of there. But it's really disheartening. And then you come to see on TV 2 days later when I'm in Germany seeing Susan Rice spew something about a video and a protest, which that was not. That's complete lie, fabrication. That was disgusting. So, as you can tell, even after all these years, after 30 years, I'm still pretty pissed off about what took place after the fact.
I can only imagine. I know reading the book, Kris, it talks about, and this is one thing I was hoping to get a little more information on, but it talked about that there was a cable that you guys had received shortly before this, and it was talking about that in fact it was posted up on the whiteboard, that everybody signed off on it, saying that there was, thought that there might be a potential threat. And obviously when you're overseas and doing the type of work that you're doing, there's going to be a lot of threats. I mean, you're in a hostile territory. So then you've got, obviously, the administration coming out and saying, no, it was some kind of demonstration, and yet it's like, well, people don't bring RPGs and mortars people to demonstrations, to say nothing about the fact that there was, and I hope everyone that's listening does go and get the book, because there are some amazing details that I did not know prior to reading the book, just from hearing some of the interviews that I had watched. But you guys also talk about how there was a photographer that was there the morning of the incident, and so there were multiple points that it was like, okay, this is obviously a planned attack. What was kind of your, I guess, like, feelings on, as you're assessing threat levels when you first got the cable to as things progressed?
Well, just like you said, and you hit it right on the head, we have be on the lookout Volo reports in daily. I mean, there's where there's be advised there could be an IED vehicle. This is what it looks like. Be advised there may be an attack on a U.S. facility or a Western facility. So you take heed to it, but unless it's extremely specific, you put that in your back pocket and you're like, okay, well, now we're going to be, and we're always vigilant anyway. I mean, really we are. GRS, the guys that work on global response staff are probably the best security operators, and they do everything from security to reconnaissance to even just driving it, doing your surveillance detection. They're fantastic at it. So we just kind of throw it in our back pocket, and we're aware. But there wasn't a date where it didn't say they're going to be attacked on 9/11. Now, granted, 9/11 comes about. We're more aware and we're more vigilant because it's 9/11. But that indication, plus there were two IED attacks on the consulate prior to, in the months leading up. One blew a huge hole in the side of their wall. The British ambassador had been attacked right near the consulate, and we actually had responded to that as well. GRS responded to that attack by an RPG that was nearby the consulate. So the indications and the indicators of there possibly being an attack there were great. And then people don't know this. I know Fox reported it once, and it's the truth. There was an Ansar Sharia house that was built 200 meters from the consulate. So they actually had a base of operations right next to the consulate. And then when the pictures, people were coming out and taking pictures that looked like a police car or the Libyan Shield intel service. It's the same thing we do. They came out and they were just solidifying their plans for the following night by making sure nothing had changed on their entrances and exits, the egresses and ingresses. So for us, though, Liz, for GRS, that's why our deployments are so short. They go from 60 days to at most 75 days, because you're always on guard, always on level, and the deployments went that way because guys were coming home and committing suicide or domestics or becoming alcoholics. So I can't say that our spider senses were up any more than they really should be, because they're really always up. But looking back now, at least on the State Department side, the indications of there going to be an attack, especially around 9/11, and having DOD having assets available and ready, which they didn't have, to come support us on 9/11 or anywhere in the world, the indicators were out there. So, and that's something where you need to bring Hillary Clinton and Leon Panetta on the show and ask them, hey, these indications are out there. Why didn't you guys have more security at the consulate? Why didn't the ambassador bring more security with him? And Mr. Panetta, why wasn't there a QRF force in Tripoli on standby, or a gunship on standby, because there were two in the area, one in Djibouti, one in Sigonella, that were ready to respond at any moment's notice, especially in a hotbed like Benghazi, because Benghazi was lawless. It wasn't nothing like Tripoli. There was nothing there but bad guys and us. And that was it.
Wow. And it's so unbelievable, because I'm watching this stuff with Hillary and the lies she's spewing, and I told Dan I was gonna try to keep from my military talk.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Not go into my military talk too much and let a couple of choice words fall out of my mouth for her. But anyone that votes for her, I mean, you're wrong. But it's so unbelievable, because they play it out, and particularly her, as though like this was something that they had not only planned for, but that there wasn't procedures and protocol in place. Like this was a total shock. And obviously in your world, this is the kind of thing that you train for.
Yeah.
this was not like some kind of surprise. There should have been some type of protocol in place to make sure that you guys had the support that you needed. I know in the book it talks about how you had actually, at least twice that I was looking at, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you had asked for the drone or to get eyes, or fly over. And as Dan had said earlier in the interview, that they're watching this live feed. Did you guys ever actually get a chance to see what was going on? And if you would have, would that have changed things?
We did get the ISR, and we did know we had the ISR around. We knew, at least I didn't know it, we had around maybe 11:45. So we had an ISR feed. About midnight is when I think I actually realized it. The Spectre and any air support didn't come at all, period, that night. And I asked for it first at 9:30, and then I asked for it at midnight, and then I asked for it as a joke at 3 o'clock. That night, and I'll tell you, that night and then after the fact, that ISR that they had was, the delay on that was close to a minute, 2 minutes away. So they would give me a feed, tell me about a warning that something was happening, and I'd already be seeing it in real time. And, in the book I even said it, that after that second attack, or before that second attack, when it was, they were giving us a feed that, hey, there are 30 people massing in a particular area. I'd already been looking at those 30 people and lasing them with my IR laser for 30 seconds before I even said, hey, you might as well just call that ISR off. It's worthless. And that was just so that it really wasn't there to assist us. I think the ISR, and I don't know if it was a Predator or a Reaper. I'd like to know, because if it was a Reaper, it's got certain armaments it's got to have on it. Nobody's asked that question before, or if it was a Predator. But anyway, then after the fact, I never did get to see a feed. I never got to see any of the video feeds from the ISR. I never got to see any of the video feeds from the State Department cameras or our cameras. I've never been allowed to see any of the video. So I don't know if that's on purpose or not. Some of the other guys have. Jack's seen some video. Oz has seen some video. But maybe it's because I'm the most outspoken that they're not going to let me see it. I don't know. They've never allowed me seeing any of that before. So,
wow. Unbelievable. Yeah. I know we have a commercial break that we have to take. I can't even believe we're already halfway through this. So if you want to go ahead and play that, if Kris, you'll stay on the line with us, and we will jump back into the second part of this.
Sure, Liz. That's fine. Great.
Thank you.
If we look to the answer as to why for so many years we achieved so much, prospered as no other people on earth, it was because here in this land we unleashed the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been done before. Freedom and the dignity of the individual have been more available and assured here than in any other place on earth. The price for this freedom at times has been high, but we have never been unwilling to pay that price. Those who say that we're in a time when there are no heroes, they just don't know where to look. The sloping hills of Arlington National Cemetery, with its row upon row of simple white markers bearing crosses or stars of David, they add up to only a tiny fraction of the price that has been paid for our freedom. Each one of those markers is a monument to the kind of hero I spoke of earlier. Their lives ended in places called Belleau Wood, the Argonne, Omaha Beach, Salerno, and halfway around the world on Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Pork Chop Hill, the Chosin Reservoir, and in 100 rice paddies and jungles of a place called Vietnam. Under one such marker lies a young man, Martin Treptow, who left his job in a small-town barber shop in 1917 to go to France with the famed Rainbow Division. There on the Western Front, he was killed trying to carry a message between battalions under heavy artillery fire. We're told that on his body was found a diary. On the flyleaf, under the heading, My Pledge, he had written these words: America must win this war. Therefore, I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone. We must realize that no arsenal or no weapon in the arsenals of the world is so formidable as the will and moral courage of free men and women. It is a weapon our adversaries in today's world do not have. It is a weapon that we as Americans do have. Let that be understood by those who practice terrorism and prey upon their neighbors. As for the enemies of freedom, those who are potential adversaries, they will be reminded that peace is the highest aspiration of the American people. We will negotiate for it, sacrifice for it. We will not surrender for it now or ever. We are Americans.
Wow, I get goosebumps every time I listen to that piece of audio. Welcome back, everyone, to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio on Pundit Press Radio and SHR Media. Our guest tonight, of course, is Kris Paronto. Kris, I want to come back and I want to address something because you were talking about how you've not been able to see some of the video from that obviously. Sure. From the drone and such, and I want to kind of lead this into the current investigation that's taking place on Capitol Hill, of course, being led by Trey Gowdy. We know that Trey Gowdy is currently very frustrated on the fact that the State Department is, let's just face it, they're stonewalling witnesses from appearing before the commission right now. And so I wonder if you could address that a little bit. Have you been asked to appear before Trey Gowdy's commission on Capitol Hill? And have you heard of any type of, what can you tell us about the stonewalling that is continuing to take place with this investigation right now?
Boy, to me, what they said, they just sent them 15,000 new documents. It's almost 3 years later, and these things are just. If this isn't an obvious cover-up or protection of the State Department or the administration, or what even Republicans that may have been involved with this, I don't know what is. What else do you have to do? I mean, you got a smoking gun and it's staring right at your face, and people are still not believing that this is a cover-up. Obviously it is. Obviously, with the Department of State and the administration, and now the Democrats saying that they don't have access to the same witnesses, or Trey Gowdy's he's interviewing witnesses that without their knowledge. They have the same access to the interviews as well. They have the same access to all the paperwork. Trey Gowdy's just looking into it. They're not. So now they're trying to turn this into a bipartisan argument, so they can, when they find out that, guess what, you guys were lying the whole time, they can find a way to back out of it and make the Republicans look bad again, or Trey Gowdy look bad. And Trey Gowdy's doing what I think he needs to be doing. He's saying, he's looking for the documents. He can't very well interview Hillary Clinton without all those documents because he doesn't have all the information of what to ask. So my opinion, again, and I think my opinion is pretty strong on this, is the State Department and the administration, the State Department per the administration is stonewalling this, again, because they're caught. They did something wrong, and they just cannot get up and say, hey, you know what, we screwed up. And that's the best case scenario. Or the worst case scenario, Ambassador Stevens is left there to die, and there's other things going on, and there actually is a serious breach in our leadership, possibly criminal. So either way, it doesn't look good. But that's why I think the commission is going to take a while. It's going to be the select committee. Benghazi select committee. I don't think it's going to be done for another couple of years, which is great. Fine, take your time, get everything you need. As far as us, we have been asked to testify. They're finding a date for us. We're working for our lawyer, Mark Zaid, and I asked to testify publicly because I didn't want the same thing to happen with us, with Mike Rogers and the House Intel Subcommittee, where they misrepresented, which is a nice way of saying lied, about what we said, what we testified. So I'm hoping we do it in an open court or open hearing But it's kind of up to the team. I know what I want to do, but I still have 5 other guys that I have to look out for as well, and they look out for me. But they have been asked. We have been asked. We just don't have a set date yet. We're still waiting on it.
So I have a couple questions with that, but I also wanted to make a comment because this is so just I sit here and the more that I've gotten involved, and Dan has a lot more experience with being inundated into politics, but just the work that I have done looking at veteran stuff. And, I mean, you could just go back and look at Richard Nixon with Watergate and the cover-up that went on there, and yet somehow our society has changed to the point that we have something that is far bigger than that, you know, that we have so many lives that were lost, and without you and the rest of the guys' courageous acts of bravery and coming in and rescuing everybody, not only at the compound but also at the annex, the loss would have been much greater. So to me, that's just so unexcusable. There absolutely shouldn't be people like that leading our country.
No, it's
you were talking,
travesty.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let's go ahead. I got you.
Oh, I think there's maybe a little bit of a delay even in my mic here. So the question I was wondering, you were talking a little bit earlier when we were talking about Crazy Bear and the support that he has or doesn't have because he falls under, you know, not technically a military category at that time. So I'm curious, as you're talking about going to your attorneys and stuff, is that something that you guys have to front the bill yourself? I mean, who's covering making sure that you guys are protected, that you have attorneys?
Well, you know, we do. As far as this goes, you know, we do have an attorney, Mark Zaid, and we did everything correct. That's why we did the book, and we didn't go to the media. We didn't go on TV and say this is what happened. We did the book because we could write the truth, but then we could submit it for review with the agency, and they could review it to make sure that it was there was nothing in there that was classified. And there isn't anything in there that's classified. It's just about what happened that night. And even they sat on that thing for 9 months, you know, waiting. We were waiting for. They had it for 9 months, waiting. We were waiting for them to clear it. But it was found to be operationally cleared. There was nothing. There was nothing classified in that book. As far as, you know, I want to point this out. I'm off the question a bit, but since we're talking about DB and insurance, people also need to realize that when we were over there, because going and assisting the State Department folks was out of our scope of duties, it was out of our job description. If any of us would have been injured at the consulate or killed at the consulate, our insurance wouldn't have kicked in. We wouldn't have got any life insurance or medical insurance because that's how our DBA insurance or Defense Base Act insurance works. So, you know, that being said, you know, I want to get back off on our protection. We are protected. We're doing protect as best we can. I think the government will still come after us for civil forfeiture, or it'll come after us with the IRS at some point. I do. I mean, we're too much of a thorn in their side right now, and you know, we're a thorn in Hillary Clinton's side. We are telling the truth, and we're showing incompetence at many levels in the government, which we shouldn't have. But, you know, we can only protect ourselves so much, but having the support, you know, like being on your show, being on radio, being on TV, the support of people is where we get our protection from. It's not from a lawyer. We get it from everybody else that wants to know the truth and that's standing with us. That's where it comes from. It's not going to come from any lawyer.
Well, I am so proud of you guys for being so courageous and I can only relate it to my world, but I've been doing, since I got out of the Army, advocacy work for over a decade, and I have been down to Capitol Hill, and we defend so many veterans that have been wrongfully terminated from the military for being whistleblowers, and that's both combat and non-combat. So I actually didn't realize what you just said, like if you would have been injured or if anyone would have lost their life at the consulate, I didn't realize that you guys weren't covered. That's something that absolutely needs to change. That's
yes, it does. You know, you're exactly right. It's silly how it works for contractors, but yeah, that's what Glenn Doherty's mom is going through right now because he wasn't married, so any of his benefits for being killed go nowhere. Even though he had put his mother as his beneficiary, she's not his wife. So and they're fighting that right now. They have a $2 million lawsuit against the CIA which rightfully they should.
Yeah,
just people need to be aware. There's a lot of things that go on that contractors do, and all the contractors are ex-military guys, especially for CIA or NSA contracts, and they're still giving up sacrificing their lives, and it's just sad that it takes events like this to bring them to light, to show the deficiencies of what they're going through.
Well, if there's anything that we can do to help support you in that, and I want to respect your time, so I'm not sure how much more time that you have this evening. I know there was
I've got time, Liz. You tell me. I got plenty of time.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, kind of switching gears a little bit, because we do have a lot of people that are military or prior military that are listening, and you and I kind of talked a little bit about your wanting to help people that have PTSD. In the line of work that you do, how do you cope with going from particularly the situation that happened in Benghazi back to civilian life? And my understanding was that you continued to work then for a year or so or 2 years before making the decision to come out with the book. How does that impact your life, your family's life?
I found a happy medium, and I deal. And people don't know I have PTSD. Actually, I see every once in a while I'll see a counselor at the VA, and I had it before Benghazi. I had it after a few trips in Iraq. There was a couple incidents in Iraq, and then just being gone. I deployed off and on. I mean, I basically deployed for dang near for almost 9 years. I was deploying constantly, and contractors don't get that support network. When you come home, there's no demobilization. You come home and you come right home. So you have to figure out a way to get whatever happened to you overseas out of your head before, right when you step off the plane. But so how I dealt with it, and this is how I tell guys to deal with it, is you just got to realize that it's not going to be the same anymore. You're not the same. Don't try to go back to what you were before. That's where you're going to get PTSD. You're trying to live your life as you were when you left. It's not the same. It's just you're better now. You've accomplished things that people are afraid to do or unwilling to do or just didn't have the opportunity to do. But you've done things now that you're got to be proud of, and you're actually at the next tier in your life. And I try to talk to young guys about that, because it's the ones that came back, and I was the same way. You come back and you want to try to get back to where you were before. But you got to realize that it's never going to be that way again. But you also got to realize that you actually are a better person for it. And that's the only way you can get. That's the only way I got through it. And having my kids, that helps. Seeing my kids, even though I missed a lot of their lives, I missed both of them's first years. I missed a lot of birthday parties, like all of us that deploy. A lot of Christmases. But the biggest thing for me is just coming in and giving kisses on the head good night before bed. That helps me. You just got to find little things. About walking in Target, that helped me when I got home. Because I got to go to Target. I got to go to Starbucks. You just find little things like that help. And then just talking to your peers. So I know you. And that's how I got to know what you're about. It was your things with PTSD, and that's important to me because I try to help people, and I'm trying to help people in Omaha with the Sarpy County Attorney putting diversion programs out, so less of people that have PTSD are coming back to the military are committing crimes. So it's a big deal to me, and that's the only way I told them. And the reason I tell people this is how you deal with it is because that's how I dealt with it. And if you need to talk to somebody, you got to go see a counselor, go see them. It's no shame in that. Go talk to them, and sometimes they can help you. Sometimes they can't, but you at least got to give it a shot. That's just where I'm at.
Absolutely. And, I think it's kind of the same that we can get out of the military, but we can't get it out of us. So, we're here as a community together to support each other, and our service doesn't end when the contract does or when the enlistment does. We continue that beyond the uniform. So I know Dan has a question here. He wanted to jump in. Is he on the line, Dan?
Jump
you know what? We could. First of all, I'm just going to let all of our listeners know. Obviously, we're going to run over the top of the hour with this conversation, and at the top of the hour, SHR Media will be breaking away for the Evan Miller Report with Jason Miller. Of course, Jason is in one of the chat rooms that we have tonight on Pundit Press, and so of course at the top of the hour we're going to have a real nice little promo to play for Jason's show tonight to lead into his program on SHR Media. He's got a very exciting program lined up over there tonight, and a very important interview that he's going to do. So we'll play that promo here at the top of the hour as SHR Media breaks away to go to the Evan Miller Report. Kris, I want to come back to Benghazi for just a minute, and the reason is we have to remind people why this investigation is so important and why we cannot let this be swept under the rug, because we're talking about a U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans were killed during this. It was a terrorist attack. It wasn't a It wasn't a riot or an attack incited by a rogue YouTube video. So a lot of I'm getting a lot of emails on my end and some text messages, wondering if you could kind of, give us, because we don't want to give away. We want people to go read the book, obviously, but I think a lot of people are familiar with the story of what happened at Benghazi. Can you tell us, from your perspective, and of course you could probably go on for hours talking about this, but from your perspective, just so that the listeners really understand how come Benghazi is so important and we can't let this die, let the listeners know exactly what happened on the ground from your perspective.
That would take me, when I do speaking events, it takes me 2 hours. I mean, do you want me? Tell me how much you want to know. I can start from the beginning to the end.
You know what? This, just kind of summarize, what happened. Sure. Summarize, that period from when you made the decision. You knew that the ambassador was in danger. You knew he was going to be killed. From that time that you guys made the decision to defy orders and go try to save the ambassador. Talk about what you guys actually faced on the ground in Benghazi.
Sure. Wait, and I can do it pretty quick. First of all, the timeline that was given by the government, and why this is important, why I think this is very important.
Perfect.
Yes, that first question, because you got to show, people have to realize that, your leaders or our leaders, our elected leaders, are lying to you. They're lying to you. It's right in front of your face. They're not telling you the truth. And guess what? And lives were lost, which is one of the biggest things that took place that night. And they're still trying to cover this whole thing up, which I'm not going to let that happen. Anyway, we got the call at 9:32, which differs from the timeline. I remember a timeline the government gave it. Now, during that time frame, for 25 minutes, we were told to wait. The words were "stand down" were used to us by our chief of base, and we were told, and we were also told delayed another time for 10 more minutes. So 25 minutes we waited before we finally bucked orders and we left to go to the consulate. Why we're going to consulate? Because of that 25-minute delay, that allowed Ansar al-Sharia and Al-Qaeda and Maghreb, the 2 terrorist organizations, to solidify their positions. So we actually had to stop our vehicles because our avenues of approach were basically flying with bullets, because Ansar al-Sharia was blocking them with machine guns and AKs. And we went on foot, and it took us another 20 minutes to get there on foot and fight onto the compound. So we didn't even get there for 45 minutes. So the media they've agreed that there was a 25-minute delay. People don't know that there was another 20-minute delay because of that initial, because we could not drive all the way to the compound. And the compound from the consulate to the annex, our home, was about a mile drive, 3/4 of a mile as a profile, so it wasn't far away. During this time, the firefights going on, tracers are going everywhere, explosions, normal wartime firefights, I guess, normal stuff. And we get to the consulate, and while we're getting there, we're climbing walls, scaling. We get there, it's on fire, just burning, it's blazing, it's already engulfed in flames. People have seen some of the pictures that have been on media outlets. We ended up trying to get everybody out, and the consulate is about 8 acres large. It's 2 football field size wide. And there's 6 of us, and we're trying to clear the consulate, trying to make sure the 17th Area Martyrs Brigade guys didn't shoot us in the back, also trying to make sure Ansar al-Sharia was cleared from the compound while we're getting everybody together, and also trying to find the ambassador running in and out of the burning villa, trying to find him. It was very difficult, a lot of smoke. We ended up doing that for approximately an hour and a half before we were actually counterattacked on the consulate, and we ended up fighting that counterattack off. So about midnight, we decided that it was time to leave the consulate, even though we could not find the ambassador's body, and we had been going in the smoke-filled, it was like a pizza oven, and it was just smoke, gray plumes of smoke and black smoke everywhere. And so, we're fighting a fire, we're looking for a lost ambassador. We ended up finding Sean Smith, and we got him out. He had already died of smoke inhalation. And we're also fighting off the counterattack coming out of our consulate, and there's only 6 of us. 17 Fed were no help. In fact, one of them had their hand blown off, just trying to run away from an RPG. Anyway, by midnight, we made the determination that we weren't going to be able to find the ambassador. I mean, we didn't even know if he was actually even there still. And we left the consulate, went back to our compound, and we fended off 2 more counterattacks at the annex. And it was relatively easy for us because we had our annex. We had it already planned out how to defend it. So we just went right to our fighting positions, and we had the advantage of night vision, and we made sure the lights were turned off on the inside of our compound, the lights were turned on the outside. So basically these guys were coming up, and it was like shooting fish in a barrel both times. So coming about 4 o'clock, the Tripoli GRS guys got to us with 2 Delta Force operators, and there was about 6 guys that came to supplement us. Now these are our own guys; these aren't from some military; they're GRS guys from Tripoli. Bub went up on the roof about 4 o'clock to visit with Ty. At that time, Oz and Dave Lubin were up on the same roof, Building C, Charlie, and the mortars hit. And the mortars were fired for effect. They weren't. What that means is they were direct. Mortars, to get them direct on, first shot is damn near impossible unless you have it as a target reference point. That means the mortar tubes were set out, and that the villa was already locked on into their azimuth, grid, mills, all that. I'm not a mortar guy, but you can't just go put a mortar down, put a tube down, put a mortar in it, shoot it, it's going to hit. I mean, those things have to be sitting and aimed in, a long time before to actually shoot to get them that active. And we lost time up. They were blown up. They died instantly. Mark's arm was about blown off, but we managed to save it. Dave's leg was hanging by a tendon, but we managed to save that. We got a tourniquet on both their legs. John Tigtigan did that. He saved their lives. And we fought off another counterattack that tried to get on our consulate again, even though there was only 3 of us left. Finally, around 5:30, we finally got the Libyan Shield, which was a sometimes not so friendly militia to us. They came and finally blocked off our compound with a 50-car technical motorcade. Technicals they're like Tacomas with machine guns in the back of them, and sort of Tacomas. And we were getting ready to leave and get all our gear off and get all our gear out of the safe rooms and get in our vehicles and get to the airport so we could exfil. And this was actually the worst part of the night for me was Ty and Glenn we'd not been able to get their bodies off the top of Building C yet because we were still under fire. And finally, when we got the fire to die down, Tig went to get a tubular, basically a tow strap to lower him down because Ty's a big guy. And we have makeshift ladders on the building. It's not like we have a set of stairs or anything to the roofs. It's just ladders that we make out of wood and pieces of steel. And so we were going to lower them off with the Delta Force operators that got up on the top of the building. They said they'd get them down. Okay, well, that's fine. They're minding their own business, doing our things. They ended up throwing their bodies off the roofs. And that really, when you see that happen or you hear it, your friends' bodies are that thud on the ground. It was pretty awful. And I was pretty upset with Delta for that. And what I was also upset with, I just found out a few weeks ago, I talked to Mrs. Woods, and she'd been told by the CIA and the government that her son's body had been handled with care. She didn't know that he would toss off top of the building until I told her 30 days ago. So she's been lied to for almost 2 years. And that's just par for the course with the government. Anyway, we ended up, in long story short, the book goes into greater detail. There's a ton of detail in it. There's more to it than just that. But we finally get to the airport around 6 o'clock the next morning, Benghazi, Benin airfield. There is a Libyan regional charter jet that's waiting for us, and we could only fit the non-shooters and our injured in there. We got them in there, and then it took off, got our injured back to Tripoli. We had some doctors that were Western trained that saved Dave Lubin's and Mark Oz's limbs and their lives. We ended up waiting there. The shooters ended up waiting there another 2 hours. We waited till about 10:30, And finally a C-130 came in that we thought was coming to pick us up. It turned out to be it was a Libyan C-130 because it had the, it had the flag markers on the boom tail. And it actually went and parked a mile away from, three-quarters of a mile away from us, parked to shut its engines down. Now, anybody in the military knows when you're doing a hot load, the C-130 pilots or any cargo plane's pilots will not shut their engines down. You don't shut its engines down because you will run out of fuel. And it did just that, and it parked in the spot. And we ended up having to get one of our interpreters, great guy. He's still working for the agency, so I don't want to give you his name, but a fantastic guy. And he went and talked to the Libyan colonel to turn the engine back on and get us out of there. So, no U.S. aircraft. As I said, no U.S. aircraft came for us until we got to Tripoli. And I was asked by T.J. O'Hara, a very good reporter out west, and he said to me, this is the first time he asked, he goes, do you feel like the government left you guys to die? And I hadn't thought about it until he asked me that. And I couldn't say no. I was like, you know what, TJ? I gotta hope not, but I cannot with 100% certainty say, yes, they did not leave us to die. And Tick feels the same way as I do. So, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, like I said, the book, very great, a lot more detail in it, a lot of action that went on that night. And then, my humor that's put in there, because I'm a complete, if I can say it on the radio, I'm a total smartass. So I was giving a lot of humor that whole night, trying to keep everybody light, trying to keep the mood light. I asked for a stripper that night, too. I said, hey, anybody need anything up on the roof? So they were asking if we needed any food and water, and I said, yeah, I could use a blonde-haired, blue-eyed stripper. Is that offensive? If I offend people, I'm sorry. That's just how I am. And everybody got a crack. Everybody started laughing. And it was the way on the radio, and these guys, there's Connell being a smartass. It's just a way to keep the mood light, and you got to in those situations, especially when you really don't know what the odds are against you. So you don't want to think about it. You just want to say, do my job, stay lighthearted, keep the morale up, and kill every bad guy that's trying to kill me. And we had a really good team and an older team. All of us were in our 40s. I think that just the maturity level helped as well. So that's it in a nutshell. I tried to condense it as best I could. That's the Cliff Note version. Hope that works for you.
I know Dan and I have been waiting to hear that live
to hear that story.
From you. Yeah.
Right.
Well, if I ever can get an hour and a half show, then I'll tell you the whole thing. Or when people come, we can do any speaking events or anything, especially in Oregon, Liz. I'd love to. It's cathartic for me to talk about it. It really helps me. Really does.
Yeah,
wow.
No, we would love to have you out here. I work with a lot of different veteran organizations, and we'll make it happen. I'm going to work with Candace on your guys' website as well. So
definitely.
We'll get it up and going.
Well, like I told you, you got me now. I'm not going anywhere. Too bad. Even if you want to get rid of me, you're on my radar now. You too, Dan. You're not getting rid of me now.
Well, real quick, we need to take a break real quick because our friends at SHR Media have to break away for the Evan Miller Report. We will continue with this with the Liz Luras Show on Pundit Press Radio. So real quick, we have a teacher to play. Oh my gosh, we have a teaser to play for the Evan Miller Report, followed by a little commercial, and then we'll be back after the top of the hour.
I'm Jason Miller. Coming up tonight after Liz Luras Soldier Talk Radio here on SHR Media Networks on the Evan Miller Report. Hezbollah's leader warned Israel it won't tolerate any more attacks. Today marks the 50th anniversary since Winston Churchill's funeral. And Amy Day from Meet Me at the Well will join us to talk about how dangerous sex trafficking is here in the U.S. That's the Evan Miller Report at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, right after Liz Luras Soldier Talk Radio, here on the SHR Media Networks and Pundit Press Radio. We hope you tune in.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians.
You got a business. You didn't build that.
A team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying Cap was stupid, bro.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
Well, we'd like to welcome everybody back to the Liz Luras Show, Soldier Talk Radio, on Pundit Press Radio and SHR Media. Once again, our friends at SHR Media have broken away for the Evan Miller Report. We are going to run a little bit long tonight with the Liz Luras Show because we have just an amazing conversation taking place right now with Kris Paronto, who, of course, was actually on the ground at Benghazi, and it's just absolutely amazing what we're hearing tonight firsthand. So once again, you're listening to the Liz Luras Show, and we're going to bring Liz right back with us. Liz, it's all yours.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. And of course, Kris, thank you again for being here on the show. We will make sure to, everyone that is tuning in for the second half of the show, we have a GoFundMe account for one of Kris's, well, actually both of our brothers in arms.
Sure.
So that is for Willie Myers, and he is AKA Crazy Bear, and he was injured in overseas protecting and serving, and we want to make sure that we are putting that out there and that we're just encouraging everyone, if God has put that on your heart, to step up and help a brother out. You know, Kris had told us earlier in the show that they are not getting the kind of support and medical backing that some of our military veterans are getting, which not all of them are, because we're still continuing to fight that as well with the VA, but they don't even get that. And so for all of my other military advocates that are listening, I know there's a bunch of them. I know Dan was saying that our network is getting pretty filled up today with everybody tuning in. So please do Kris, myself, and everyone else a favor. Tweet that out. Share it in your news feeds. Let's just come together and support him and his recovery and making sure that he gets the health care that our warriors deserve. With that, we also want to make sure that everybody, we are talking with Tanto Paronto from the 13 Hours Inside. Did I say that wrong, Kris?
No, you got it. Actually, I just usually say 13 hours now. I think the inside
hours?
account really happened in Benghazi. Yeah, just say 13 hours because I mess it up all the time too. It's like, Kris, it's your book.
What's the whole
I know
name?
it's a long title. I'm a ranger. I can't remember that much.
Yeah, it's hard, especially trying to master this Twitter thing. I'm going, I can't put the whole name in here. I wanted to propose something to our people that are listening. So I know after I got out of the military, I did a lot of marketing stuff, and so we always want to make it fun. To support our warriors and to support our veterans. So I am proposing to all of my social media networks, basically it's a way to support the book, to support you guys. Go out there and get the book, get 13 Hours, Benghazi, tweet a selfie picture of yourself to my account, and it's at Liz Luras, so that we can, and make sure that you're putting your hashtags in there, because it's amazing how many people, how many politicians actually look at what's going on in social media, and that influences the world around us. And so I think, that's something that we need to do. So from now until February 14th, so it's 2 weeks out from our next show, go ahead and tweet that out. Tweet out your selfies, hashtag 13 Hours, hashtag Benghazi, a picture of you with the book, and we will draw 2 winners that will get not only an additional book, but also a couple patriotic things, and we'll send those out. We'll announce them on our February the 20th show. So just make sure that you are supporting our warriors and that you're helping Kris and the rest of the guys that are trying to support their families and get the truth out there and honor the memory of those that we've lost.
Appreciate it. Liz, if you work with Candace, I don't know if people want them, but I'll sign those too. I don't have a problem with that. Just got to figure out a way to get them to me, and whatever. Even better. I'd love to. I think my signature values is book, but I'll sign it if people want me to. So
absolutely, that would be great.
Work with Candace. Yeah.
sign books, I will work that out with Candace then afterwards. So, and we'll do what we can to promote it. I think it's so amazing because there were even people that I talked to leading up to this, and there were so many people that didn't actually know much about it, and I was really surprised.
I am too. Honestly, I don't know if I'm surprised angry-wise or I'm happy that people are actually listening. Because it just goes to show that people are really believing what the media tells them. Even on the right and left, they're still believing what your government's telling you right now. And how many times we've seen that it shouldn't. That you need to start opening your eyes, and you always got to listen to the guys that are on the ground. Anybody that's on the ground, that's where you're getting the truth, is the guys on the ground. And people need to start realizing that you need to. It's like Bergdahl's platoon. I believe him over anybody else in the world, because he's telling people that Bergdahl was the person that left his post to go to Taliban. All of them said that he deserted. So who are you going to believe? I'm going to believe the platoon. Same with us. Guys on the ground, we're telling you what happened there. There's no other reason for us. We're not lying to you. This is what happened. I'm off my soapbox. It's the Liz Show, not the Tanto Show.
No. Hey, you can come on and co-host anytime you want. I know in some of your interviews that you were actually talking about ABC and NBC, or MSNBC, that they had actually blocked you guys, that they were not allowing you on their network. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're not allowed on their networks. All the mainstream, CBS, ABC, NBC. Now, locally we can. In fact, Columbus, I just did all three, ABC, NBC, and CBS. So local ones are okay. It's just the nationally syndicated ones. And if that doesn't show you who controls the media, again, I don't know what else. You're going to have to get smacked in the face with it then, because I don't know what else to tell people. It's so obvious to me that how corrupt media and the government are now, and who controls what. There's no what's what I'm looking for, and I'm sorry, my range of vocabulary is failing me. There's nothing that's middle of the road. There's somebody is scratching somebody else's back, and right now the control leans with, and I'll say the control leans with the liberals right now, and when anything that may block or may hurt an agenda that's out there, they're going to block it. And that's what they're doing right now. But I say I'll keep getting out the grassroots and keep talking to people and get on the road. I don't have a problem with that. It doesn't bother me. So we'll keep telling. But they will. Maybe when the movie comes out, they'll have to start talking about it, or at least they'll have Mitchell on. Probably won't have me on. But I'm hoping that's the case, because then I think more people will get to know the true story, and I think it will continue to outrage those that did know what happened.
Yeah, and I think Dan had a question here. He's messaging me to jump in here, but I do want to, when Dan said here, to talk about the myth or the truth about whether there is a movie, and I don't know if you can tell us who's playing you, but I'm kind of curious.
No, there is a movie. It was purchased by Paramount. Michael Bay has signed on to direct it. They only have one character so far, and that'll be for Jack, most likely. And I forget his full name. I know him because if you see his face, he's on The Office. His name's Jim Krasinski, because I think that's his full name. I forget which character he plays. His name's character on The Office. He's the younger guy, bigger guy, but he's a splitting image of Jack. So all you gotta do is, if people want to see, search 13 Hours Benghazi movie actor, and it'll put him up there. And I guarantee people may not know him offhand, but when they see his face, you're gonna go, "Oh yeah, that guy. I know who that guy is."
Wow.
And he looks just like Jack, so it's perfect. But the rest of us, for me, I keep saying Eric Estrada or Wilmer Valderrama, the guy from Fez. The guy from 70 Show, Fez. Those two, but I'm kidding. I have no idea.
No!
I have no idea. I haven't got a word yet. So Think of somebody, Paul Rubens, maybe.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I hear Bradley Cooper, is available. So, and after the success of American Sniper, you never know.
I don't think he's really good enough, good looking enough. He doesn't really. He can't say the top.
Say it, Kris.
You kidding me? Roger, tell Bradley that. You can tell him that. You better get back in the gym a little bit more. No, I'm kidding. No, I can't wait to find out, but I don't know. I'm hoping the rest of the cast is the rest of the characters are cast, the next month or so. But I don't know. Our agents keep me out of the loop on that because they know as soon as I find out, I'm going to tell somebody. Like, don't tell Tanto. He's the last one. Don't tell Tanto because he'll tell some news organization, or he'll go tell all of his friends, and then it'll get tweeted on Twitter or something. So they won't tell me. I'll have to read about it like everybody else.
No.
But I'm excited for it. I think it will bring you to a bigger audience. And I really like Mike. We had dinner with Michael Bay, and he supports veterans. He uses veterans in all his movies or guys that are on active duty for movies. And I like him a lot. I think he'll do a good job. Granted, people are saying, well, Transformers, Armageddon. Well, you know what? His movies are still good. I think they are. And still, The Rock is still one of the best movies out there. And that is and they use real SEALs to do that movie. So I'm happy with him. And we all the guys are happy with utilizing him for the movie. And I think he'll do just fine.
Wow.
Excellent. And I have Velois in the chat room that says that true, we've got to have a good looker for Kris. So you've got support out there.
I don't know. Thank you. That's nice to say. I'll talk to some. I'll try to talk to my people who will talk to their people, and all them people will talk, and we'll figure it out. I don't know. And I asked Irwin if I could play myself, and he goes, Irwin Stoff's the producer. Irwin did Unbroken recently, and he's done Blind Side. He's been the executive producer of some of the Matrix movies. And I asked him, I said, Irwin, can I play myself? And he's like, Kris, I don't think that's the plan. So I was shot down. I was brokenhearted. I tried.
You're gonna have to use a lot of paint and cover up to do all of your tattoos. I was reading the book about all your tattoos, and I was like, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Yeah.
Dan, you wanted to jump in here. I'm monopolizing things.
Oh, it's your show. Your name is on the show. You monopolize all you want to.
Exactly.
I'm the sidekick.
I thought we already decided.
Dan and I, like kids before Christmas, like, oh my gosh, we have Dr. Kris. This is so exciting. And we're messaging each other. And like,
that's hilarious.
I gotta share. Go ahead, Dan. You got the stage.
Kris, I want to come back to the media aspect for a minute because I operate one of the largest conservative websites on the web today with Pundit Press, and we have covered Benghazi from a personal standpoint. This is one of the stories I have covered more than any in my 28 years now in the media business.
Yeah.
And this is a story that I'm not going to let die. I'm not going to let it be swept under the rug. And I've talked with everybody. You're the first one I've actually been able to talk with that was on the ground. Now, I've even spoken with Trey Gowdy before about this.
Sure.
But those of us in the conservative media, we have certainly been after this story, investigating this story, and of course we hit the brick walls just like everybody else does. But you were alluding to something I think is very important that goes back to the cover up of this story, and I think I truly do believe that the I don't call them the major or mainstream media outlets because quite honestly conservative media is really the mainstream media today because most people identify as being conservative, so we call them the drive-by liberal media. But from that aspect, I personally think that there is part of the cover-up with this as the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, etc., because anytime you see any important information come out about Benghazi, especially with the ongoing investigation right now, which is just absolutely being buried by the drive-by media, you tend to see talking points, what I call press release or soundbite journalism, where almost verbatim they're quoting whether it's going to be Josh Earnest, President Obama, the State Department secretary, who I think is an absolute joke. But the point being is, what you're seeing the talking points with this, and I think it's very important to point that out, that you guys are getting literally pushed to the side by the drive-by media because of the way the Obama administration, the State Department, or whatever is putting their information out there with sound bites and press releases, and that is what the drive-by media is using.
Yeah, and you're totally right, and that is something that I will continue to bring up and continue to state, because it's the honest truth. And even when the CBS, I saw an old video of when they first reported it, and they did report it when the attack happened. I think it was on the 7th. If people want to go back and look at the CBS on 17 September 2012, it was completely inaccurate. I was laughing at it. It was completely inaccurate. They were just making stuff up as they go.
Right.
And now that they do know the truth, and now they know that actually, a few of us are well spoken and can talk on TV, I think it scares them to death. So of course they're going to keep pulling us away and not letting us go on. But it just goes back in, and I said it before, and you just reiterated that the administration and the government itself controls the media. I mean, there is no coincidence that the Rhodes brothers, one works for the president, the other one works for CBS. One is the head of CBS. How is that a coincidence? I mean, it's not. Ben Rhodes and whatever his brother's name is, I don't remember his brother's name over there at CBS. But let me tell you, just like, and I'm making a comparison here, just like the Islamists and the terrorists that know how to utilize media for their gain, the liberals know how to utilize it too, but brother, we let that happen. People, the libertarians, the conservatives, we let that happen. We didn't see it. They should take it what it's worth, but now people like myself, like yourself, are starting to point that out, starting to show it, and starting to state it, and that's all we can keep doing. Is we just got to keep stating that this is wrong, that the media is really the lapdog for the government and the administration right now. And Benghazi is a perfect example of how they will utilize that to downplay or to even just silence the truth when it makes them look bad, based off, at the best case, incompetence. At the worst case, actual crime of murder, because two ambassadors shot into Ty Woods and Glenn Doherty died when we could have got support there, and also because of the stand down. So we just got to keep saying it. I guess you just keep saying it and pointing it out and using facts, and hopefully in 20 years it'll reverse itself. But that's all you can do. So I'm glad you pointed that out, because I thought I may have been the only one thinking that, but obviously I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, and Kris, I know you're talking about like having the truth silenced. I'm curious if you can speak to a little bit more about, like, were you guys given gag orders? Were you given non-disclosure reports, or made to sign non-disclosure reports? And where does it stand now?
We're never given. The agency is very passive aggressive. They were never given us gag orders, but we did sign multiple non-disclosures. We signed one, when during a ceremony, I think I said that earlier, during the memorial ceremony, they rushed us in a room and made us sign new ones during the Ty and Glenn's memorial ceremony, which was completely uncalled for. But also, the threat of civil forfeiture has been out there for which would be coming after us for the money proceeds of the book. But again, working a year after, approximately going to Yemen and approximately being with the agency another 6 months to a year after, it was paramount that I sign those in non-disclosures or I wouldn't deploy anymore, even though I did need to. When one's put in front of your face, when one's put in front of your face, it's okay, guys, read this. Remember what it says. It says no talking to the media, no disclosing of classified information. But again, that's why we did the book and not just went to the media right off the bat, because we knew if we did the book, we could submit it, and it could still be looked at, then that non-disclosure would be null and void based off the book. And if we went right to the media, we'd be violating it. At this point in time, we're just not looked at. I mean, of course, we can never deploy again. We were told that, myself and Oz were told that point blank by one of our supervisors, if you guys write this book, you'll never deploy again. Okay, well, I can understand that too, because our true names are out there now. But also, as far as them coming after us, not out in the open, again, because we have support of the people right now, I think as this story dies down, and if the truth is not put out there, I think they will come after us civilly or through IRS audits. As far as putting us in jail, I think we haven't done anything wrong. We haven't given any classified information out, so they can't. But they can sure come after us financially, which is, it's still pretty tough to deal with. Granted, I live in Nebraska, so I really don't have that much money anyway, so they're not going to get much out of me, but they can still do it. So we have to be careful, though, and we still are protected, but our biggest protection is folks like yourself, media, and then just can get the word out to other folks out there. That is our biggest protection.
Well, we will definitely do our part. I know Marla says in our chat room here has a bunch of different questions that she's asking, and I'm not sure how much of this that you can speak to.
Sure.
Some of them you kind of answered a little bit earlier, but she was asking, her major question was, why all the cover-ups? Why is this happening? Why was there no support? And what is really going on with our government?
All right.
Lots of different questions there, but any of that you could speak to for her.
I can try to answer. And again, this is what I see based off the facts and what I went through. The initial video and the initial protest narrative was election time. Al Qaeda's on the run. I mean, that comes out that an ambassador of Ambassador Stevens' level dies due to terrorist attack. He's probably going to lose the election. Right. Then also just because of the stand-down orders that were taking place. Again, it's just lies that continue to lead on to other lies. So then the stand-down order, when we came out and said, no, that's not the case. Well, there again, you're looking at the government incompetent, or were they really telling us to stand down because they wanted Ambassador Stevens to get kidnapped or killed? Again, I don't know that. I'm just saying it's a possibility. And then also the actions that, and I can't really talk about what we were doing over there, but there were things that were going on that portions of Congress did, and then the other portions did, and the other ones did not. So when this and we came out and started telling the truth, it just led to other things out there as far as possibly arming rebels and picking up SA-7s, surface to air missiles, and those sort of things. But all I can tell you is that ISIS didn't grow out of nowhere. ISIS came from somewhere. It came from, you'll see a lot of ties of ISIS into the Syrian rebels. So it just lie begets lie begets lie, and it just to tell you the truth, you just keep digging yourself deeper. I think if they would have initially just came out and said this was a terrorist attack, and Ambassador Stevens died of it, and then they came to us behind closed doors and said, guys, we apologize, we really screwed up. We apologize, we were incompetent, whether they were or not, or maybe they're still covering something up. If they would have done that from the beginning, I'd still be working, and none of this would be here. All they had to do was tell two truths: terrorist attack, and we screwed up, guys. We should have sent you support. We apologize. This would all be this. We wouldn't even be here right now, but because they decided to lie at the beginning, more stuff. That onion, the layers of the onion are still being peeled back. So there's even more stuff that I didn't even know is coming out. So but maybe that's what the Lord's intended to do. That's what we got to do. So other than that, though, as far as I know, people want to know where the arms going to Turkey, and this, I didn't see any. But all I can tell you is Syria, the ISIS didn't grow out of anywhere. ISIS didn't grow out of nothing. They came They have a tie-in with the Syrians. So that's all I can say about that, just because that is classified stuff, and I can't really get into that.
Well, I sure appreciate you giving me that insight. I know there are other books out there and accusations. We can only hope that Trey Gowdy will get to the bottom of this and the rest of his committee, and that you guys continue to sound off on what actually happened on the ground, and the rest of us continue to support you in that message. I know we're getting a message here that we are coming up on, we're actually, I'm going to say Oregon time here. It's 5:30 here.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that we're respecting the time. We can either continue into this next half hour. I know we're holding all of our listeners over, but I think we've got so many people that are engaged here and sending in questions. But I want to go to you, because I know I had initially asked you just for an hour of time, and I want to make sure that we're definitely respecting your time as well.
Sure. I may, since I'm driving and I'm going to be getting dropped off here in a second, I might have to hang up on you. You may have to call me back if that's okay with you. What do you want me to do? You tell me, Liz. I just don't want to, because I'll be probably getting dropped off, shaking hands, giving hugs to the people that have been taking me around the whole time in Atlanta. So would you tell me what you want me to do? You want me to hang up, or just put the phone down and you can hear me say my goodbyes and pick it back up, or you want to call me back here? I still got 10 minutes till we actually get there.
I think probably the best thing, I would love to invite you back on the show. I'd love to invite you out here to Oregon.
Yes,
I know you were traveling and had other events as well, so I always want to respect that. Oh, this is so cute. We've got a couple people that are saying in the chat room just right now, as we're getting ready to get off here, run for president.
Okay,
I agree.
Don't vote. Then write me in. Just write me in. Then do that. Like Brewster's Millions. Brewster's Millions. What is it? Vote for no one. Write me in. Yeah, write me in. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. There you go.
I could do a good job. I know I could do. I could do a better job of what's going on right now. Is that arrogant?
Oh,
arrogant.
Absolutely.
Sorry, that's arrogant.
No, that's truth.
It's true.
Nothing arrogant about it. It's truth.
Thanks. Liz, I know I'm going to be getting out here in just a second, getting dropped off. So I've been talking in a car where they've been driving me from Columbus to Atlanta. So I would love to be back on, though. Yeah, I'll come back on and we can do this again. Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kris, for your time and just for your honesty and your bravery and all that you have done for our nation. I think you would do amazing, and I hope that you do run. And you absolutely, I know you have Dan's support and my support, and whatever we can do. We are here and making sure to support you, and I know all of our listeners are out there as well, and they're going to go get the book, and they're going to send their tweets in with their selfies and their 13-hour books.
Great.
Thank
That's
you
awesome.
again.
I love it. Thank you. And thanks for you do. You do good things too with the PTSD. I'm there to help you. If you ever have fundraisers that you need somebody to come talk or help you, you just let me know, and you know how to get a hold of Candace, and you know how to get a hold of me. All you got to do is ask, okay?
Absolutely. Well, I will be working with Candace, and we'll get something together then, for sure.
Thanks, Liz. Dan, thank you. It was a pleasure. It was an honor to be on the show, Liz and Dan. I really appreciate it.
Kris, we enjoyed it. Thank you very much for all this wonderful information and sharing your story with us. Absolutely amazing, and I'm just blown away. I really, really am.
Thanks, sir. Thanks again. God bless you, folks, and we'll hopefully on in February. I'm hoping I'm with you guys again. Just tell me when.
Absolutely. Well, I will definitely do that. Maybe we'll do it when we call out our winners for the Benghazi selfie campaign. So we'll do that. Thank you so much. God bless. We will look forward to having you on again. And I know we want to thank all of our listeners here tonight that have joined us and that have stayed over on the program, everyone that is on Pundit Press and that was listening to us earlier on SHR Media. Make sure that you get out there, get the book, 13 Hours Benghazi. Make sure that you are also supporting Kris and the rest of the Warriors by continuing to keep this chatting alive. Dan, if you have any other closing thoughts, I know we had a tribute that we were going to close out the show with tonight.
Oh, you bet. Just to remind everybody that if you want to listen to the rebroadcast of the show, you can catch it at on our radio show page at thepunditpress.com. Just go there. You can also follow the show links that we have up on Facebook and on Twitter and stuff like that. The podcast of this show will be available as soon as we are done airing. It's just that quick, so it'll be. So make sure that you do share the broadcast with everybody. This was a very important show, and I know we're really looking forward to having Kris back again. Just one more thing before I turn it back over to Liz so she can close out the show with her dedication, and that is just to remind everybody about our good friends over at SHR Media. Make sure, after you're done listening tonight, to go over and check out Jason Miller and Corey Evan over at the Evan Miller Report. They've got a really amazing interview that just actually started right now at the bottom of the hour, so I highly suggest you go over and check out our friends at SHR Media and the Evan Miller Report. Liz, it's all back to you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dan, once again, always for being my co-host, my sidekick here, and helping us walk through this journey. Thank you to everyone that's listening. We always want to make sure that we are honoring all of our veterans that have given the ultimate sacrifice. And so tonight we are going to be playing our taps in honor of those that were lost in the Battle of Benghazi. So those that are brave warriors that are now deployed heaven-bound, Tyrone Woods, Glenn Doherty, Ambassador Kris Stevens, and Sean Smith. God bless you all, and tune in next week where we'll be having a great show for you, diving into some of the issues with those that are illegally deployed or discharged from the military. So make sure that you're tuning in next week, Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 Central, and 7 Eastern Standard Time. So God bless, and have a great night.